Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'm going to discuss whether or not Rishi Sunak has lost control of the Tories again. Actually, he may never have had control, I suppose. I just thought he did. You know, because just like it looked like he was exerting a measure of control. And, you know, then this row centering around the BBC and Gary Lineker, which blew up this week, confected by the Tories, will absolutely not be what Rishi Sunak wanted to see. Is his authority still in such a weak position that he is unable to direct his forces? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So I discussed my thoughts around the immediate political storm surrounding the Gary Lineker tweet earlier today. Now I want to step back and look at this from the point of view of the Tory leadership and if it's really something that Sunak wanted to see. So let's look at the timeline, because it's been a roller coaster of a fortnight. I say 24 hours is a long time in politics. The last 2 weeks, I cannot believe what's happened. It was 2 Mondays ago. Keir Starmer is giving a major speech on economic policy, would be all over the news. Not in the news at all. Completely overshadowed by Rishi Sunak announcing his Windsor framework. 2 points to the Tories there. The first point for announcing something that is objectively good and is newsworthy. The second for raining on Labour's parade at the same time. Perfect. It was a great day for Sunak. It was derailed later on that week when the news about Starmer hiring Sue Gray was leaked, but Sunak couldn't really help that, to be fair. Then last Monday, the Monday just gone, he stands up and he makes another major announcement. This time, not at all objectively good. He promises new legislation to stop the channel crossings. The legislation is, of course, a right dog's dinner. It basically says front and centre, by the way, this legislation is probably illegal. And it allows his political opponents to completely savage it in PMQs. But Sunak makes a big deal of it. He even emblazons the lectern with the "Stop the Boat" slogan, as if announcing this is going to be a major platform at the next election. But then his own message gets drowned out by the confected row with Gary Lineker and the BBC. This is entirely driven by the Tory media and even Tory MPs. If they hadn't had an issue, none of this would have happened. If Sunak was in control, he would surely have stopped them. So then the question for me was, did he want to stop them but lacks the authority? Or did he want them to upstage his own major policy announcement? Until yesterday, I didn't really know. So let's look at it from both angles. So first of all, it is generally a pretty stupid thing to do to want the news to distract from your major policy announcements. If any political leader makes a big announcement, on a Monday especially, with a related slogan on a lectern, it's a sure sign they want that announcement to be the main news for the whole week. That's why they announce it on a Monday. They want it to fill the news for the rest of the week. So seeing it upstaged almost immediately looks like Sunak was too weak to stop it happening. But there is another way to look at it. I was thinking to myself, so as evidenced by the mauling that Sunak got at PMQs, maybe Sunak didn't want his policy to be in the news all week because that maximises the chances of more people finding out the details. And the details are not good. This anti-asylum position they are adopting, as I've discussed recently, it's not a net vote winner for the Tories. Yes, it appeals to a certain section of target voters in the red wall, very important voters for the Tories, absolutely, but it actively puts off other core voters in marginals around the country. Also, because the Tories keep making the situation worse, even if their policies appeal, even if people go, oh yeah, that sounds good, those target voters are as likely to vote Reform UK, who've got no track record of failure, because they've got no track record, or Labour as a competent alternative to deal with the issue, even if their views don't exactly align. So there is an argument that the announcement was just red meat to the gammons, really just to keep his MPs on side, the extremists in his party on side. So maybe Sunak thought, announce it, let them cheer it, then take the rest of the week's news hostage so that nobody else delves too deeply into the details. I could see that. I could see that being a strategy, that he only announced it and made a big deal of it to keep the nutters in his party on side, really, but he didn't want lots of the public finding lots of things out about it. So I really didn't know if this row was strategic or not on the part of the Tories. It was very difficult to tell. But then yesterday, Sunak made another big announcement. He went to France, met with Macron, and announced the funding for a detention centre in France, related, of course, to asylum seekers. Now, I could say a few things about that, but I'll leave that one for now. Apart from anything else, when you consider we'll probably have the election by the time it's all built, Labour could then just use it as a processing centre instead, which is what we actually need. So although the news sounds fairly awful, it may actually turn to good in the end. But the point is that Sunak had this announcement that made it look like he was doing something, a detention centre in France. Well, say the gammons, that'll stop a load of migrants coming across the channel, won't it? They won't think to themselves what happens when it gets full. For them, it sounds practical. It sounds like it could work. It'll take time to set up, so the gammons may assume that Sunak will actually be delivering. It doesn't matter that he hasn't delivered. Well, we understand it takes time to build these things. And maybe Sunak nicks a few votes back from Reform UK. Brilliant. Only there's a bit of a problem. Despite the best efforts of the Daily Express this morning, who were pretty much the only Tory media not to report, they were the only ones who did report on this big news from yesterday about the detention centre. No bugger else was pushing it as their main news story. The Lineker row didn't just overshadow his announcement at the start of the week, as may possibly been intended, but also at the end, where I can guarantee Sunak did not want that overshadowing. Because that sounds practical. That's like a thing, a physical thing that he will be able to point at the election. At this point, I now think the most likely explanation is that the row with Lineker emerged out of the Tory press because they will take any opportunity to attack the BBC without any coordination from the government. Then a load of Tory MPs jumped on it for their own particular reasons because they're not very clever. Sunak maybe didn't see the problem with it at first, or if he did see it as a problem, didn't feel it was worth expending the political capital to bring his MPs to heel, because he doesn't really have that much authority. But the situation clearly ran away to the point where Sunak made his big announcement, something he definitely wanted on the front pages of today's papers. And that would have happened if the BBC had have remained on their Thursday position, if they hadn't done anything yesterday. That would... The front page of the Daily Mail, the Daily Telegraph, the Daily Express, it was on the Daily Express as it happened, and others as well, would be the detention centre, what Sunak wanted. But no, the events of yesterday meant he lost control of the situation yesterday. Because whatever political pressure was brought to bear on the BBC yesterday to change their position, I am certain, fairly certain, could not have come from Downing Street, because it doesn't make sense. The announcement yesterday with Macron was way more important to draw the gammons' attention to. And if you want to get the gammons on side, what you don't do is destroy a popular football show. Do you know what? They've replaced it with gardening. Match of the day, big football programme. Replaced with gardening. I cannot imagine all those football fans in the Red Wall who might have been minded to vote for the Conservatives in 2019 and may or may not think about doing so at the next election will be impressed that their football programme has been replaced with gardening. I mean, I think that both Sunak and his day-to-day advisors are useless, but I am 99% sure, I can never be 100% sure, 99% sure they did not want to see the events unfold which unfolded yesterday evening. I think Sunak would have looked at that and gone, right, there go my headlines for tomorrow. This meeting with Macron, the announcement in France, will have been weeks, maybe months in the planning. Certainly weeks. He's been building up to it. The Windsor framework announcement, then this. It was him getting things done, showing that he's getting things done. That is what he needs to do in order to win voters back. Show he's getting things done. And all overshadowed by a runaway media frenzy. So let's look at the timeline again of the past 2 weeks. Sunak gets a final practical settlement for the Northern Ireland Protocol. He gets the vast majority of his MPs, including the ERG, to support it. That is a massive coup. At a stroke, he pulls the rug from under Boris Johnson and seems to establish some personal authority on the party. Unfortunately, later that week, he sounds a note of caution on rejoining Horizon. This is stupid. Getting back into Horizon was the immediate payout from settling the Northern Ireland Protocol. So I take that as a sign that he hasn't stamped his authority on the party at all, that he won backing for the Windsor framework because of trade-offs promised. And maybe Horizon was one such trade-off. Then he announces another unworkable and illegal policy on Monday, more concessions to the swivel-eyed loons in the party. Then a Tory-induced media frenzy overshadows his Friday announcement, the big one, which is what he will definitely have wanted all over the news at the weekend. So I now change my mind on the significance of the Windsor framework for Sunak's authority. Yes, it has still destabilised Johnson. I think on the balance of probability, though, I see it as something that Sunak got only because he promised a lot of concessions to the ERG and others in other areas. He clearly had no control over the Tory media frenzy this week. Otherwise, he'd have told it to die down by Friday, not ramp up. This clearly did not occur because something changed at the BBC yesterday. On Thursday, they said no action would be taken. On Friday, they suspend Lineker. There had to be pressure from somewhere, but where if not Downing Street? But whatever happened, and it may be some time before we ever find out, if we ever find out, and even if Sunak was inexplicably involved in that pressure, but that would be madness, the way events have unfolded, it's still a sign that Sunak is just simply not in control at all after all. Whether he lost some control that he did build up a fortnight ago, or whether he never really had it, he doesn't seem to have it now. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.